The After Movie Diner this week is brought to you by Spume Couplet, the revolutionary all-in-one couplet that works not only as a robust and highly polished couplet, but also as an egg tree, a handy instant laminate, and a pizza topping.
I don't know. What's wrong with me? I can't eat anything
without spilling it down.
I'm turning into John.
Yeah, I know, that's what's happening.
Remember how whenever John put anything on, there were at least like 3 stains on it?
Yeah, that's one of the things I always liked about it. Because I always felt well dressed around it.
Even stuff that was like freshly laundered.
Just use some of your water, dude.
All right.
Or go to the bathroom or something.
Honestly, I find it almost impossible to eat these days without covering my
This is going to be a great beginning to the show. I'm already recording, by the way.
Oh shit, okay.
No, I'm going to keep all that in, because it's this is the kind of delight that people...
Radio Gold.
Radio Gold.
Welcome to Radio Gold.
People love it. People love to hear that you're incapable of keeping food in your mouth. It ends up all over your chest.
It happens every time I go to the cinema. I'm like, what a nice film that was. And I walk out into the light and look down and go, why is most of what I ate like on my shirt and not in my
that's why I
gob?
eat popcorn, because it's not going to...
Yeah, well, that's very sensible. That's very sensible.
Well, because I am a very, very sensible person.
I've often said so. That's why you're a digital media consultant.
Oh, I'm going to hit you in the face if you call me that again.
But that's what you are.
No, that's what they've called me.
Well, yeah, all right. Well, you're saying... All right, okay. Dude, you're still a free spirit.
No, that's not...
You're still a rider on the... What's a rider on the...
I don't know, on the bus to oblivion.
Yeah, we haven't even paid off there.
Yeah.
I really want to start a band called Pete Trance's Sister.
Why?
Don't know. Because I want our album to be called Stay Back. Stay Back, Pete Trance's Sister.
Who's Pete Trance's sister?
It's that bit in Red Dwarf. I don't know why it's been going round and round in my head. Stay Back, Pete Trance's Sister. I just think Pete Trance's Sister is a great name for a band. I'll stop saying Pete Trance's Sister.
Why don't you stop saying it? That would be excellent. Okay, so hello and welcome to yet another episode of the shambolic and unplanned After Movie Diner. Accurately named After Movie Diner. And as we have just seen a movie, and we are now sitting in a diner. I believe the first time we've ever recorded here, which is Cafe 82 or 83?
Cafe 82.
Cafe 82.
Cafe 82.
On 82nd Street and Broadway.
Yes.
Which is known primarily for its gluten-free menu. For anybody who has celiac or anything like that and wishes to have gluten-free food.
Who finds themselves on the Upper West Side of an evening.
You've been going out, maybe you've had a couple of beverages with some pals.
Absolutely
excellent. This would be a good place to go.
It would.
So, we have just been to see San Andreas, starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson, which is apparently how he now has to be referred to, and
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti, and was it Carla?
Carla.
I think her name's Carla, like Guignol,
I don't know.
Gignoli, something.
I have no idea.
And I can't look it up because we're recording on my iPhone, so I can't look it up. So whatever. And it was basically, I'll summarise the plot very, very quickly. Again, my co-host is, of course, our now regular co-host, Mr. James Wallace.
Hello, nice to be here again.
Pleasure again to have you on the show, sir.
Pleasure to be back.
It's always a thrill. Just moving the phone out of some tomato sauce there.
This is our definition of thrill. Not getting tomato sauce on our phone.
And yes, we went to see San Andreas, which I think I can sum up pretty simply.
Well,
I think it was all about go ahead, you do your spiel.
No, I was going to say...
do the thing. Do the thing. He has this whole thing now. Now that he's become the regular co-host, he has this whole thing.
No, I don't have a thing.
You have a thing.
I have a thing.
You clearly have a thing.
I have a thing.
You have a thing, and it's all down your front.
Yeah, that's true. So, Oh no, we just want to start off by saying, should people see it? I think they should. If you like disaster films.
Right. Yeah, if you liked The Day After Tomorrow and guffawed your way through 2012, you'll enjoy that.
Right. And I really enjoyed 2012.
Although I think, by the way, both those movies are better than this one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they are. But on the other hand...
And I'll explain why later.
No, that's fair enough. But I would say this. It's been a long time since there was, like, a big budget. Like, I don't know if 2012 was in 3D. It would have been too early for 3D, right?
I don't know.
I think it probably would have been. So I haven't seen a big disaster epic in 3D.
Right.
And that was well worth it.
Yeah, no
So
worries.
if you like big disaster scenes in 3D, which I do,
right,
then see the movie. But keep listening to the podcast, because believe me, there's nothing to spoil.
No, there's absolutely nothing to spoil.
Whatever you think happens in the movie,
happens in the movie. Yeah, everything that you've seen in the trailer is the movie. But basically, to summarise the plot for people who haven't been aware or haven't seen the trailer, it's all about not just yet.
Thinking
not just yet. Sorry, man. About another minute, and then it'll be good. It's all about a LA search and rescue fireman who abandons his post to selfishly save his family in the middle of literally hundreds of thousands of people dying that he could have been saving, but instead he, by hook or by crook, is going to save his family.
True, I hadn't thought of it like that.
Who are disparately separated up and down the west coast.
Yeah, one of them, the wife is in LA.
Right. He should have been in Nevada. He never went.
Right. He never went to Nevada.
Never went to Nevada.
He went to LA.
Then he picked her up,
his
and
daughter was in San Francisco.
And within the space of what seemed like 3 or 4 hours, even though San Francisco is a lot further from LA than that, even by plane, he managed to
Can't be by plane, but that's only 6 hours from New York to LA by plane. Mine is much bigger, much faster.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It's still a lot.
You're right. No, but the timing was all over the shop.
The timing was all over the shop, and the location
it was
of where.
Absolute nonsense.
Oh yeah, no, it was absolute pish. I mean, this movie might as well have been called San apostrophe Pish apostrophe Andreas.
Okay, I will say this in its favour. It did let you know it was going to be a load of old tosh right from the start. When a woman gets knocked off by like a rock slide. Down a cliff, and she goes through a series of like crashes that would have left her
crippled completely from head to toe.
They would have left her the rough consistency of strawberry jam.
Right,
that's what she would have been.
Yeah.
And she's got like a few cuts on her face.
Yeah.
And
no, I mean, let's explain something. Sorry. By what we mean by a few crashes is that she gets hit by a bunch of rocks. The car goes over the side of a sheer drop, hits that sheer drop several times, then goes over the edge of another sheer drop, hits that several times. Meanwhile, you see her flipping literally from the back to the front to the back of the car, hitting absolutely everything inside the car before it comes to rest to hang upside down over a massive ravine.
Yeah. It was like, there was no way she was...
Her neck would have been snapped in about 48 different places.
I thought it was quite a bold opening because they kept inside the car while all this was happening to her, and I thought, this is amazing. She's going to be torn limb from limb, like her head's going to come off. Like...
What was hilarious was the
she said, I don't feel well.
I don't feel very well.
You're all right, love. I don't feel very well. I'm not surprised. Your brain, right, is currently leaking out of your ears.
So anyway, the hilarity of it was, so that we didn't feel too bad, in order to make it okay that she went over a cliff several times, we saw her driving around a bendy road, not paying attention to the road, looking at her cell phone and trying to reach for a bottle of water. This apparently justifies her going through massive
No, I think that was just feint, wasn't it? They were trying to... it was quite neat. It was almost like the equivalent of the horror film, like, oh, there's a cat in the mirror, do you know what I mean? Kind of a thing.
Well, yeah, because I kept expecting her to hit an oncoming car, right?
And that was quite neatly done, I thought. And then she like gets hit by the... And it was all great. Like, okay, once you accepted that she's, she's got a few cuts, and it was pish, it was tosh. It was, pashore was the only noise to be made. But the actual scene of her going over and over the cliff was really good. You were really inside the car with her, and I'd never been in a car crash in a movie like that before. I thought that was neat. I thought it was very quickly done. I enjoyed it, by the way. Even the bits that were obvious tosh, I enjoyed for being obvious tosh.
Right.
You know?
Anyway, let's actually pick something to eat.
Sorry. Well, I know, I'm going to have a Reuben.
Oh, okay.
Reuben with corned beef, that's my plan.
Oh, okay, pish. I'm just going to have a bagel with lox.
Today's word is pish. You can have a what?
Today's word is... I'm going to have a bagel with lox and cream cheese.
Hey, sorry, mate. Can I have the Reuben sandwich with corned beef?
Sure. Can I have the bagel with lox and cream cheese, please?
And, yeah, can I get chamomile tea? Green tea? Green tea, yeah, green tea.
Okay, and can I get like a Pepsi?
Sure.
Coke? Yeah, thanks.
Thanks very much.
So, I'm trying to remember all the things that I wanted to mention about this movie. I mean, basically...
Well, why don't I run through the plot? I don't have to get through
There isn't a plot. I just said the plot. The plot is a man who is a search and rescue...
As I talk through it, you'll remember things, is what I'm thinking.
Sure, right, go ahead, yeah.
So, it starts...
But he abandons his post, that's all.
Yeah, basically he does.
And he's had more rescues than anybody else. He would be the most valuable person to have
and all he
in
does
any
is rescue
crisis.
that.
And all
he doesn't rescue anybody else.
Well, he picks up the lady off the bridge in San Francisco and dumps her by the...
Well,
and he essentially...
he'd been no use in Nevada, right? Like, he's better off where he is.
Right, I mean, he saved all those people by the...
Could I just say one thing I really liked?
By the thing in San Francisco, the what was it called, the stadium.
One thing I really liked about it is I genuinely think it was full of really good advice. Like earthquake-related advice.
Yeah, I wouldn't take any of the advice that they said.
No. There were things like...
well, let's not get serious about it. It's utterly ridiculous.
No, but I liked that about it.
Right,
I liked the fact that it tells you when the cell phone towers...
I have a coconut king, but I have Pepsi in the Fanta.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks very much. Cheers. It said, when the cell towers go down and you want to make a phone call, find an electronics store with a rotary phone. But it's true, that's good advice, and it tells you how to find a landline too. With find their card machine. What else? The thing about supply boxes in fire trucks. That's quite useful. Like if you find yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was the point of the film, but yes, okay.
No. Of course, that was the point of the film. I'm saying, but they took the time within the film to. But also things like when The Rock said, find somewhere sturdy. And go next to it. Like don't run, through the streets.
So you were clearly watching this movie as some kind of self-help guide.
No, I'm saying I think if you're going to make if you're going to make a disaster movie, I thought it was quite cool the way they took time. To put those things in.
Yes, Okay.
What? I'm allowed to enjoy. I'm allowed to enjoy.
This was also a movie in which a guy got in the leg a shard of glass that was about the size of...
that's true.
You bet what's true?
But you're supposed to take it out.
Of course you're supposed to take it out.
Well, I didn't. I think you're supposed to leave it in.
No.
Well, see, then I learned something from the movie.
You apply a tourniquet and you pull it out, but the point of the matter is that would be fine if it was a little shard of glass. This was the size of like a house.
Yeah, it's true, but it was still
it was the size of like a book, right? That had sliced a huge gash into his leg. Like not just a little cut, but a huge gash in his leg.
It wasn't very deep.
That no amount of...
It wasn't very deep. No, because there was a bit where she pulled it out and actually it was only about that much. Was it?
Wouldn't matter, dude.
All right. I'm just saying, it was still good advice.
Everything below the veins is all fat and bone anyway.
Right, I see. Okay. Well, I still think it was good advice.
Muscle.
I didn't know that. I thought you're supposed to leave it in.
All right, Chief.
And she said, you take it out or it'll do more damage.
So we have to move on from the fact that you think this is some sort of factually accurate guide to what to do in an earthquake. I don't think people listening to this give two hoots what to do if you happen to be in the San Andreas Fault and get a slice of glass.
We might have a California listenership.
The size of a book in your leg, which is then removed, and she goes, can you put weight on it? He was like, oh yeah, I'll give it a go.
What was with his teeth? He just had a teeth transplant.
Well, because they were English, so that they what happened was, they're English, you can't be in a movie with teeth like mine, so they've had their teeth straightened, and English people with straight teeth always look weird.
He looked exactly like that Harry Enfield character, Tim Nice But Dim.
Yeah.
He looked exactly like Tim Nice But Dim. These huge gnashes.
Again, we're way ahead of ourselves, because we haven't even explained what's going on.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
So hang on a second.
All right, okay.
Let's go from ludicrous point to ludicrous point.
Okay.
That's the clearest.
Start with the first ludicrous point.
Well, the first ludicrous point is that she goes over the cliff and she survives.
Right, that was pretty.
The second ludicrous point
and then the Rock
is that the Rock is like, how are we going to get into this ravine? Because all we have is this helicopter. By the way, right, a helicopter which, when they're in the midst of a search and rescue, gives them a time limit, because if they continue doing any more searching and rescuing, it's going to explode. Or it's going to break down, or the engines are going to stop. And I'm thinking, maybe make your search and rescue helicopter a bit better? I don't know. It's just an idea. If the point is searching and rescuing, try not to put too much of a time limit on that. Because he goes into the ravine after
which he doesn't need to do, because he can hover above the ravine and just, like, they can just buy a longer run.
Right, no, this was like an iPhone lead where they only had so much and Apple are not giving you any more. Clearly, the LA Fire Department...
He literally, like
he
turned it on its
helicopter,
side. He turned the helicopter on its side and flew down the ravine. You're thinking, that's the dumbest / coolest thing I've ever seen.
You know when you have to get a couch out of an apartment, and in order to get it out of the door, you have to, like, bend it round or put it up on its end or whatever like that. It was like that, but with a helicopter and a ravine.
If I was like the cameraman or the reporter, I'd have grabbed someone on that
he did.
helicopter.
By the way,
are you fucking crazy?
By the way, he did this with 2 civilians in the helicopter.
Are you fucking stay where we are and lower a longer rope?
So
we don't have a longer rope. Let's fly back and get one.
This is going to be a 3-hour podcast. But anyway, so they send someone down, right, to secure the car, which I guess makes sense. They don't want it like falling down the hillside or whatever. Except the car falls down the hillside onto his shoulder,
which I saw coming.
By the way, he's totally okay with, right? The Rock then goes, well, I've got to handle it. There's 2 other people in the helicopter, but he puts it on auto hover.
What I like is every flying machine in California has the Rock button, right? Which means it doesn't matter if it's a plane or a helicopter or whatever. The Rock. I'm surprised he didn't have a Rock button in the car, where you press the button and the machine just
keeps
either stays still or keeps going, or whatever the Rock magically wants it to do, so that he could jump off it.
So he presses
whatever he needs to do.
He presses auto
rock,
right? Auto rock, which apparently, even though he was...
I'm surprised when you press it doesn't start playing We Will Rock You
right.
while he does whatever he needs to do.
Or explodes some fireworks or something. Or adds more baby oil to his head. So
another tattoo.
So, another tattoo. So, even though The Rock was, with his skilled biceps, having to hold the helicopter very tentatively in place because he is...
Turns out you are a better helicopter. The bigger biceps you have, the better pilot you are. Fact. That's science.
Yes, it is. And you're able to will a helicopter and plane into the right area. So anyway, he goes down, right? He goes down to save her because no one else can. And he rips the door off a car with his bare hands. Because basically at this point, the guy up in the helicopter who's looking at the little dial that says, "Yep, sorry, your search and rescue helicopter's about to explode. Any minute, it's got an explode line on the dial." So he radios down, "Yep, sorry, we're about to explode." So the Rock goes, "All right, no time. I'm going to save everybody here." Rips a door off a car, a locked door, I might add, off a car, right? Pulls the lady to safety. They cut the wire on the car shoots down. The guy who was beneath the car slides out neatly, smiles at him. His arm's probably hanging off by a thread, although we don't see that. But he's probably broken his shoulder in multiple places. He just smiles, "Oh, Doe the Rock." And apparently, the moment they stop searching and rescuing, the helicopter's fine. Because at that point, they can still, even though it's gone into the red and it's gone into the "we're going to explode" bit, they're able to fly back to base and everything. Where they then meet the engineer, who's all like, "Doe, you broke another helicopter with your searching and rescuing." It was literally the comedy version of the bit where the chief calls Riggs and Murtaugh into his office and goes, "Do you know what you've cost the city this time?" Yeah. Rock, you've broken another helicopter. And it was full of those bits, like later on where they're going to like man up and join the helicopter again later on. And he's like, "What would you do without me? Your shoes are untied." And he looks down and goes, "Don't, my shoes are untied."
My favourite bit of dialogue, possibly.
By the way, these are people who've done search and rescue in Afghanistan and are walking out to a rescue helicopter with their shoes untied.
My favourite line, I think, in the whole movie was when they were doing their exposition about, like, The Rock. "Oh, yeah, I'm going to drive my daughter up to California."
Right.
Fine. By the way, this doesn't happen. Like, that never happens in the movie, so it's not necessary. Then he goes,
right.
My daughter to California. She has a volleyball match on Friday morning, so we're going to spend some time. Why do we need to know that she's got a volleyball?
No, it was like when the waitress came over in the restaurant later.
What was Kylie Minogue's character there for?
I don't know. No, she was there to reveal the fact that their first daughter.
We need somebody really callous and awful. Let's get Minogue.
Yeah.
Poor old Minogue. She only had like 3 lines in the whole film, but it's basically, could you be the worst human being ever? Is that all right, Kylie?
Well, because she's the sister to the other worst human.
I don't really care what we know about Kylie, but if I was going to cast like the worst woman on planet Earth, which is the part she played, I'm not sure. Like,
I'd give it to Katherine Heigl.
Yeah. Now you're thinking.
Yeah.
But why Kylie? Kylie never did anything.
Right. Well, but her agent probably went, "We can get you one day on San Andreas," and she went, "All right."
You'll have to play a cow, though.
Yeah.
Not a literal cow.
Yeah, she always came across as quite a sweet person. I don't really know why. Anyway, so it's funny, as I get older, I have more affection for things that, like, back when I was a child, that I absolutely hated, which was like Jason and Carly. I had no time for whatsoever. Now I'm kind of like, oh, Carly Minogue and Jason Donovan.
They weren't so bad. They just wanted to sing songs and have a nice time.
At least they weren't Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez. You know, when the worst has presented itself, the previous seemed quite nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
well, we don't we're really making what. So
what I'm saying is there was a whole bunch of stuff that was surplus requirements. For example, the waitress telling us the specials. I mean, it was really a dialogue problem where you were like, "I don't need to know any of this. I really don't." Because it was like, I tell you what it was like. It was like when you used to read scripts that I'd write, and you'd look at it and you'd go, "Why are you telling me this?" And I'd be like, "Well, because it happened." Like, it was like, "It doesn't matter. I don't need to know that this is, like
this is the sandwich that you ate."
Yeah, this is the sandwich I had, right? So he turns up and to his house.
His wife's got a new rich boyfriend.
Yeah, having been served divorce papers.
They must have. Oh yeah, that was great as well, because The Rock handles it really well. He doesn't lose his temper. He's really polite.
Hang on a second.
Sorry.
So he shows up at his house.
Yeah, we don't want to get ahead of the plot here.
No.
We've got to confuse people. Sorry.
So, gets divorce papers. He then goes to the rich boyfriend's house, right? She reveals out of the blue, the ex-wife reveals out of the blue that actually they're all moving in together, right?
Right.
He handles it as sweetly and as coolly as any human being could. Yeah. If that was me, I would have gone ballistic, and if I was the size of The Rock, punched the twat in the face. Yeah. Right? As it is, he handles it, okay, he goes a little quiet.
He's obviously a bit miffed.
Bit miffed.
Yeah, the word I would use to describe The Rock is miffed.
Miffed.
But that's it.
A tad.
A tad miffed.
A tad. Yeah. Considering how big The Rock is, really a minuscule amount of miffness.
Yeah.
He didn't break anything, he didn't wrench a door off anything, he didn't punch anything, he didn't embed anything into anybody. I would say it was a pretty good day for The Rock.
For the people nearby that he was miffed with.
So anyway, does all that, right? And then the next thing we know about the whole, like, intriguing, not family drama that is apparently unfolding in a tedious amount of time in this film. is that she's having dinner with Kylie Minogue, who is the sister.
In LA?
Yeah.
Sister or?
Sister of
Ex-wife?
said arsehole. No, sister of said
How did you know
arsehole.
sister?
Because he said in the plane when he was flying her up, he was flying the daughter.
Right.
So Twatty Boyfriend was flying daughter
Instead
up
of the
to
Rock.
San
Instead of
Francisco
the Rock, right.
because he has a private jet and he owns buildings and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
He was flying up to San
He's an
Francisco.
architect. He doesn't own the buildings, he just designed the buildings.
No, he owns the building. His names are on the building.
Oh, really?
He's like a West Coast Donald Trump.
Oh, okay, alright, fair
Right.
enough.
So anyway, because he has architects working for him. He doesn't.
I thought he was an architect.
No, he has architects working for him. That's why the whole Ben guy is... This is why it gets confusing, because now I'm having to explain that the Ben guy was coming along for a job interview with his younger Oliver Twist-like brother, which was a whole other thing. Anyway...
This is the Teeth. We're going to refer to him as the Teeth from now on.
Right. A random English actor who I've seen in nothing.
He's not English, he's like South African or something. He had a very peculiar accent.
Oh, okay.
Well, he was
'Cause
American
You know
trying to do
Ian
English.
Grufford was...
Yeah, he's Welsh.
He's Welsh and doing an atrocious American accent.
Yeah.
And then in comes...
Can't have a hit unless you've got an Englishman doing an American accent.
Right,
somewhere.
in comes Mr. Blue Shirt Teeth. And, yeah.
Honestly, he really did look exactly...
He was like the English Blucas.
He was the English Blue.
I think
He
we've
was
actually
Tim
found...
Nice but Blucas.
He was Tim Nice but Blucas.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's flying her up and he says on his private jet, when he does the whole, I'm not trying to be your father, by the way, speech.
But, look at this plane.
But
yeah.
look, yeah, money, yeah, talks. Your father walks.
I make buildings. I did like that joke, that they set up the whole...
It's the
I built the
safest.
strongest, safest building, and it was the only one that fell down.
Right.
Which was, I thought, kind of cool.
Oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. Yeah, all right.
Because it was the only one, because it was leaning up against the other building, so it was like, he's a triple twat.
Yeah, he's
You know
a
what I
triple
mean?
twat. No, I mean, we find out just what a twat he is later on. But, so he takes her to San Francisco, and on the plane he says, oh, your mum is having dinner with my sister because she's in LA and she really wanted to meet.
Right.
But we don't have a time to, like, all sit down together.
I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before, by the way, dear, but my sister is pure evil.
Yeah.
Should probably.
Well, no, he says that.
She might even bring up your dead kid.
Yeah.
In a really, you know.
He says that. He says, "Oh, my sister can be a bit difficult to take. She's very overprotective." There was all these interesting dialogue lines that you really should have been paying attention to.
Yeah.
James. It was fascinating.
I'm glad he told us about the sister because her 3 lines were so key.
So key. Well, no, literally, right. And this is where, if you had a script editor, because it's written by just one guy, Carlton Cooper, or at least that's who got the credit for it, right?
Yeah.
And clearly, because he's a very, very, very established
Yeah,
screenwriter.
he did Lost and
No, but he's done stuff before that. I'm almost certain he's written some of the Lethal Weapon franchise and other stuff like that. I'm almost certain.
oh, okay, fair enough.
He's done a whole bunch of stuff.
All I know him from is Lost.
Yeah, that was. But he also did Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. He's been writing and producing stuff
okay,
for like 30 years. Anyway, I get the feeling that maybe there wasn't a script editor on this, because really that whole scene with Kylie was for 2 reasons, right? It was one, to get her near the top of a building, right? Which could have been any fucking building. She could have been taking a dump in a public restroom at the top of a Barnes and Noble, for all it matters. But I don't know where that came from.
You shouldn't be a script editor.
No.
I'm just throwing that out there.
But they were like, oh, damn it. Oh, we've got this whole, like, oh, he's already lost one daughter thing. Oh, how do I crowbar that in? Oh, I know we'll have this belligerent old cow say to the wife, like,
It does, but the thing is, some of the lines.
you've got a dead kid, right? Like, that's literally the line of dialogue.
Didn't your other kid die? Or
Yeah,
something?
horribly, yeah.
But what I like later is you don't know exactly how that happened, or like you know it's drowning, I think. But then later on, The Rock, and I'm sure it's such a bad line. It's almost like I feel like they might have started getting ironic at some point, because the line is, I still remember that day I took her on that rafting.
Thank you. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you very much. Wow, magic.
Wow, that is the largest.
Blimey, that's a Reuben, isn't it?
I enjoyed.
Thank you.
That is the largest
What's this?
salmon and lox thing.
They have the bit where,
You can't have coleslaw, can you?
no, in a quiet moment.
Well, they're driving interminably long
No.
distances. They
Yeah,
decide
but in
to...
between like driving and flying and helicoptering
I've got a
and
whole fish on this. Literally a whole fish. I mean, it's fine.
they stop And The Rock says, like, apropos of nothing, really, I remember the day I took her on that rafting holiday. Or
right.
Oh, no, it was my idea to take her on that rafting holiday.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, here we go. And that was it. She fell off a boat, the end. And you're thinking, if The Rock...
No, not only did she fall off a boat, that was it, the end, but they felt the necessity to give us a flashback of that.
Yeah, that's
when
right.
all he had to say was, she fell off a boat.
It was bad.
I think I could probably figure out what that looked like.
But that's the thing about the movie, is that...
Well, the thing about the movie was, the audience, and were openly laughing at scenes. I mean, we would laugh anyway, because, I mean, we don't go for the whole, chest-thumping, flag unfurling thing anyway. We tend to kind of guffaw at these things because we find the melodrama just patently hilarious. But most audiences, don't have that kind of thing. And most audiences, applaud and love all that kind of mumbo-jumbo. We're the people who, when he was in Independence Day, he says, this is everybody's Independence Day, we go, whatever, shut up, American, whatever it is. Whereas in this case, everyone was laughing, you know what I mean? Because it was all just ridiculous.
It was, but they timed it in such a way that you had the opening with the car, then you had to sit through some nonsense he didn't care about. Then you had the bit of the Hoover Dam with Paul Giamatti, which was
actually
amazing.
really good. Right.
Really cool.
Because Giamatti works for Caltech and is trying to...
Honestly, you know what the film should have been? Really? It should have been... Any bits of talking should have been Giamatti in his lab, because I'm a sucker for the scientist in a lab in the middle of a disaster figuring shit out.
Right. He was the Ian Holm character in...
Day After Tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, or Jeff Goldblum in Independence Day. That whole scientist in a room figures stuff out.
Yeah.
I love those bits.
But hang on a second. So he works for Caltech with his friend, and they are building a computer system
that's right,
which will predict earthquakes. His friend picks up on the fact that there are lots of little tremors happening around about Nevada, and he says, well, hang on a second, there aren't any fault lines in Nevada. And he's like, well, none that we know about. Let's get out there. This is our chance to prove that we are actually predicting earthquakes. Sure enough, they show up. And this is the other thing as well. The earthquake happens in every single case exactly at the right moment for the earthquake to happen. There's never a point where they're like, well, this might happen. Then they wander around and have some tea, and then the earthquake happens. He goes, I think we might have an earthquake. Boom, earthquake, and that's what happens. So he's down inside the Hoover Dam. Giamatti's at the top. His computer does the squiggly line
to the top of the Hoover Dam really quickly,
considering the whole thing is falling apart. And this is what I want to say. The thing I will give this movie credit for is that the effects are genuinely
really, really good.
Because we all saw 2012 and stuff with just stuff falling over in LA with a whole bunch of whirlwinds and things. And you're like, yeah, all right, but it didn't look real. I've actually been to the Hoover Dam more than once. I've actually walked around it and whatever and things like that. And it is sort of dizzyingly enormous when you're there. You know what I mean? You look over the side of it, and it is a bit like, whoa, it kind of takes your stomach away. Because it's not like being up the Empire State where you look over and there's just no frame of reference because it's just too high to even fucking comprehend, or when you're up in a plane or whatever. You can comprehend that there's a river down there, but it's enormous. And that bridge that collapsed, that they were building over the ravine, that was still being built when I was last there. I've never driven on that because that's relatively new in the last 6 years. But that was done really well. It was really
And then that's the thing, you did have to sit through some pound, right? Now, there was a bit in the middle, there was a big, long bit of pound. But when the stuff came, when it happened, the Hoover Dam was amazing. There were three things that were amazing. There was the Hoover Dam, there was the first earthquake in LA, which was just super cool. Just really, really good. The way that the buildings were collapsing, and it was all done in a kind of a pulled back way, so you didn't see, it wasn't all
there was no shaky cam, it was actually really pleasing.
Yeah, it was all from high
you
up
could
in the
see
air.
everything that was going on.
And it wasn't all people screaming and whatnot, it was far away, and like how the buildings were moving and how the earth was moving, and like what that meant for everybody else. Very cool.
Well, yeah, I mean that one bit where you saw the overhead of the stadium in San Francisco, and you saw literally the water and the earth ripple underneath was awesome.
And then the wave, like the big wave,
right,
was amazing.
It was really well done, and what was even better done after the wave has hit, after the tsunami has hit, and this is especially relevant because obviously we've had a couple of large tsunamis in the last few years,
right?
And we've seen it. You know, we saw Haiti, we saw Thailand, we've seen these places.
Right.
The bit where they were in the speedboat then kind of going through the debris of the city and all that stuff like floating in the water and whatever, it just looked really good.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing that doesn't look good is when humans are clearly like superimposed against it. But like in terms of, because you can still see it a little bit.
You can see the edges, yeah.
They look a bit see-through almost, like the people look a bit glowy and see-through. It just doesn't look quite right. But you kind of you sufficiently suspend disbelief enough because everything else around it looks just so well
weirdly
done.
In those things, the landscape looks real and the people look fake.
Yeah.
As opposed to like back in the 50s, the 60s level where it's like the other way around. Only the people are real and everything else is like backdrop or whatever, backproduction.
And it had a pleasing because the last time I think we saw anything like this that was really effective was back when they used to do it with models and stuff.
Right.
It was actually like it's the one movie I've seen recently where I just can't condemn the CGI at all. It was just really well done.
Right.
Like I was literally watching it going, I have no idea how they made this. But not like Mad Max where you watch it and you go, I really have no idea how they made it. Because it was just fucking insane. But in terms of, well, I know he's on a green screen, or I know that they're in a water tank somewhere that they're then like superimposing into the shot or whatever, but you really don't.
No, it was
like,
really,
I really
well
couldn't
done.
figure it out.
And it was the first movie in a long time where I was genuinely going, whoa, like out loud in the cinema, wow, bloody hell, stuff like that. It was really, really cool. And that's what it was. It was like one of those kind of movies. And yeah, just like those kind of films in the 50s and the 60s, we had to sit through the American family reasserts its, unity in the face of disaster.
Right. But I mean, my big problem with it was twofold. Beyond the script, which was just shockingly atrocious.
Awful.
And it wasn't like, I have no problem with cliche, right? I have no problem in 2012 that Cusack's got a like, he's a down on his luck limo driver that has to reunite his family and blah, 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 blah. No problem with that at all.
In fact, he's a schlub. He has to do these things to prove he's not a schlub.
I embrace
Whereas The Rock is like awesome at the beginning, awesome during the movie, and awesome at the end. And there's no doubt at any
But no,
point.
because like Dennis Quaid is also like, when he goes to find Gyllenhaal, like
I guess
he's got huge amounts of expertise, but I still buy Quaid because he's got his 5-day stubble and his hair stroked over and he's grimacing to the power of 10.
he's giving it a full Quaid.
He's giving it the full Quaid. You know what I mean? While Gyllenhaal's being chased by wolves, he's giving it the full Quaid. And there was just... People can say what they like about Emmerich, but my other two big problems post the script is one, there was no sense of pacing whatsoever.
No,
right?
that's true.
And they tried to like keep cutting back to Giamatti and have him go, whoa, it's not over yet, you know what I mean? Which happened like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's true, because the earthquakes were over like that, and I was thinking, I know that's how earthquakes are, but there was too little, like, the earthquake happened and then it was like nothing. There wasn't that feeling of like ripples, like aftershock almost. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Well, there was some aftershock, but like
no, I mean it, like within the movie itself, as in.
Well, they just didn't know how to. They just didn't know how to plot or pace it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And there was some attempt at the end, once the daughter was trapped in the shrinking in the sinking building. There was some attempt to have like tension and actual, obstacles to be overcome.
Yeah, that's true. That was very.
But mainly, right, The Rock goes from LA to San Francisco via helicopter, car, plane, and speedboat.
And parachute.
And parachute. Like, relatively unscathed. Like, he really doesn't have to come
true.
across many obstacles. And even when he does come across an obstacle, like the big gap in the San Andreas fault leaves in the middle of the landscape, because he does come across at one point.
Yeah, I was thinking,
a huge
throw her
gap
across and jump after.
Right, but
surely.
But there was a whole bit where I was like, he comes across it, and the kindly old couple go, "Whoa, no, stop the car, because there's something up ahead." So they stop the car, they go look, "Oh, San Andreas Fault." She goes, "What is it?" "It's the San Andreas Fault," which is clearly fucking obvious.
It's the name of the movie,
Never mind,
dear.
don't worry about it. Anyway, so then he goes back to the kindly old gentleman, who happens to be wearing an aviation cap. "Where'd you get that cap?" "Oh, I'm just going to take you to
from the airfield, just
airfield
a
up
few
the
minutes
road.
away.
Don't worry about it."
Lucky, eh?
Well, I tell you what, while you gas up the airplane, why don't you have a bit of a talk about the whole daughter you lost thing? That would kill some more time, wouldn't it? Why don't you go painfully over trying to watch The Rock emote, which was just awful, right?
Yeah, it's like trying to watch. It's like watching a horse trying to play tennis.
No, it was like a horse trying to read Kierkegaard or something. It was like, or Proust or something. It was like a horse just trying to. It's like, dude, we understand it. You've never cried. You've never ever had to cry. We understand. We understand that your muscles and whatever you've packed into them have removed your tear ducts for life. We understand this. But anyway, so it was
What
a
I
bit
want to know is, right, if presumably the worst it gets from The Rock, like, on the evidence of the movie, like, as he calls up and apologises for his earlier behaviour, right, which presumably he hasn't done, so you'd have to assume that this tantrum that he feels like he threw is like the worst he's ever behaved in years.
Oh yeah, this is the point we were trying to make earlier. He calls up to apologise to his wife for literally acting the best any man has ever acted when he found out that his wife is stopping some absolute knob face.
Yeah. Who then, like, steals his daughter away. I mean, at no point is the guy going, "Oh, your dad's coming down here to drive you up to the university? Oh, that's a nice idea. I tell you what, why don't I take you instead of my private jet? Yeah, let's all do that." And the daughter and the wife go, "Yeah, that's a good idea." And the Rock's like, "Sorry, what am I, chopped liver?" Like,
Well, but he doesn't even say that.
no.
He just goes,
"Oh, that's a good idea. Nice to meet you. Bye." And then he goes, "I'm really sorry about the way I acted." So what the hell did he do? Presumably that's worse than what he did in the marriage. That, you know, again, he apologises for his behaviour. So what's wrong with her? That like, oh, he's a bit miffed. Yeah, what, his daughter died. Do you know what I mean? Let's give him a year or two to be a bit miffed. Do you know what I mean? A bit quiet at parties. Let's give him that.
Literally what her problem was that he was a little bit quiet after he witnessed with his own two eyes his daughter dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
because obviously water isn't The Rock's thing.
You did kind of withdraw into yourself. Oh, did I? Did I withdraw into myself? It's funny.
I wonder what could have caused that.
But this is what I mean, right? At no point is there any consequence to any of it. I mean, we see plenty of people get flattened, and we see plenty of people die, and we see buildings fall over, and blah 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 blah. But like,
even the bastard, the boyfriend, who's like set up throughout the whole movie to be like a total cad, and I'm thinking that bloke is going to survive because I thought that'd be quite neat. They're all in his building, and of course he's going to make for his building too, which gives him a reason to be in the same place as the Rock at the end of the movie, where the Rock is definitely going to thump him, right? Which is no more than he deserves, given the caddish way he's acted throughout the whole movie. But they disposed of him like 3/4 of the way through in this like really
comical way.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, but it's a bit like, then what was all the other stuff for?
Right. Hi. We interrupt this podcast to say, hi, I'm interrupting this podcast because I'm looking for your help. Next year, we want to send the diner out on tour and start to meet a lot of the people who have been previous guests or vocal supporters of the diner for the last few years, and hopefully do shows with them in their own local diners around all of North America. Very exciting stuff. Also, we want to continue being able to release a free podcast every week from now on. Obviously, this is all very pricey with website costs, movie costs, eating costs, and traveling costs. It can all add up. So we're asking everyone who listens and loves the After Movie Diner to rush to patreon.com/After Movie Diner. That's www.patreon.com/After Patreon, which is patreon.com/aftermoviediner, and become a sponsor or a patron of the After Movie Diner for as low as just $1 a show or 70p if you're in the UK. Either that, or for a one-time donation, click the donate button on aftermoviediner.com. If you're strapped for cash, and we certainly appreciate that predicament, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share the After Movie Diner as frequently and across as many social media networks as possible. Every little helps, I can assure you. Want to be part of the show? Then just write to us at aftermoviediner@gmail.com or call us on 347-669-0053. Thanks for listening, and now back to the show. So the big thing is, first of all, the pacing's all over the place and there's no tension.
But no, there isn't much tension.
And the other thing is, you remove the ability for The Rock to solve things by punching them. There was literally one bit where he punched the guy in the face. That was it.
Who did he punch in the face?
The guy who was trying to shoot him for stealing the car.
Yeah.
So he grabbed the gun away from him, hit him in the face, and went, "Not today."
Right, you've got The Rock, and then you've got like this whole city, crumbling city that he's got to get through.
Right.
To get to his daughter. It's in the middle of earthquakes.
Right.
As movies go, that's an amazing plot because he's going to have to lift things, he's going to have to push things, he's going to have to punch things.
No.
He's going to have to pull things out of the way, he's going to have to lift improbable weights with his huge arms. Like, it's going to be amazing.
He's going to hopefully, like, I don't know, like, at no point...
Take on some looters, maybe. You know, there's a big scope. But he just gets in a boat and goes around.
Right. Oh, this was the other funny thing, was apparently...
What is he? The Nazis, the Maginot Line. Bit of a history.
Yeah,
I think,
well, look at that right there.
That's one for you, John.
Yeah, one for you, mate. But the other hilarious thing was, because he couldn't do, like, because he wasn't pulling things out of the way or whatever it was, the most The Rock he got was when, in order to literally will a tiny little rubber speedboat, which by the way would have been flipped the moment it even attempted to go
the really
vertical.
Expensive, much faster, much heavier, much better built speedboat
just
falls
flipped
away.
Yeah, this little like dinghy that they're riding around in.
Tell you what, they stopped halfway up the wave.
They stop halfway up the wave, vertically, I might add. Like they're like right up on the top of a tsunami. He just pulls over, parks next to a ship, so he can watch a ship destroy the Golden Gate Bridge and go, I guess that just happened. And then he just crests over the top of the wave and off he goes. As if, I see, now I wanted him to maybe like, I don't know, stare down the tsunami and it shrink away or something. Like,
punch the tsunami
in the face. That's the thing. You have to understand that the last time I saw The Rock, right, was in Fast and Furious 7, in which, and I'm not kidding, he drives an ambulance through a drone, right, climbs out of the ambulance perfectly intact, right? So this is, by the way, having solved a broken arm, but just taking the cast off and flexing a bit. He just takes the cast off and goes, oh, my arm's all right now. Drives an ambulance through a drone, crashes, gets out of the ambulance, tears the Gatling gun off the front of the drone, the big machine gun thing, and drags it through a tunnel, taking out like planes and helicopters and things with a, like, that's what The Rock has to be doing. I don't want him like running around in a speedboat not punching things in the face. I want him tearing shit off other things.
I mean, he could have been... You could have had Paul Giamatti as the dad and The Rock as the scientist.
Paul Giamatti did more running than The Rock did.
Yeah, The Rock, it was mostly sitting.
Yeah.
Sitting in the car, sitting in the plane, sitting in the helicopter.
They gave him dialogue. Big mistake with The Rock.
Paul Giamatti wasn't in it nearly enough. He had one quite cool
And
bit
also,
at the beginning where
he was in it in a really like serious, mawkish way, where he was all like,
yeah, Lord pray for the people of San Francisco.
Yeah, and all this sort of crap. And I'm like, I'm not buying you, dude, as a religious type.
Also, they were like, oh, he's our saviour because he told us to get out before another earthquake hit. There's just been an earthquake. I think most people will be fleeing. Do you know what I mean? No one hangs around the earthquake site, right?
Right. Oh.
You just leave.
And when was the bit that he tried to tell them about the LA earthquake and no one listened? That was like a throwaway line of dialogue that we never saw.
Yeah.
So, that was my big problem with it, because it just had no... I was saying to T when we came out of the movie, I was like, I loved all the effects and everything, but it still felt strangely underwhelming. Do you know what I mean?
Well, okay.
I was whelmed, but then I was like, huh, alright.
I guess my reaction is, it's definitely one of those films that the more we talk about it, the more I realise it was a bit crap, and it could have been much, much better. But
right. No, it should have been called The Rock's Fortuitous Journey Through a Hellish Wasteland. Because it was incredibly fortuitous.
Yeah. The Rock emerges unscathed from, the worst natural disaster in the history of mankind.
Yeah, and also, I don't know about you, but if your entire city had been decimated, and I mean absolutely decimated,
everybody is
the
dead.
last thing I would do if I was someone of able means would be to scale up the wreckage of the Golden Gate Bridge to hang an American flag. I might wait on that. That might be like down the road of, I don't know, pulling my dead relatives out of the bay and giving them a decent burial. I mean, I don't know. That might be the first thing on my mind, rather than quickly someone shimmy up the wreckage of the Golden Gate Bridge.
We better get a flag up there, or there's going to be anarchy.
We won't know where we are if we haven't hung a flag immediately. Quickly, everybody, get the largest flag imaginable. Oh. And then to have The Rock at the end go, now we're going to rebuild. I'm like, no, because the San Andreas Fault is only going to hit again, and then you're going to have to probably try and save your daughter.
Move somewhere else. There's lots of America.
Yeah.
Move to another place.
I would suggest maybe Nevada or Arizona.
Given the size of the San Andreas Fault, I would buy shares in bridges immediately. Like bridge construction, all of that. You make a
We had none of that. I wanted The Rock to somehow lasso California back onto the mainland or something.
Think about it this way, right?
Yeah, why was The Rock pulling California back into place?
When I look back at it, this is the problem with the movie. There's a bit where they drive up to the fort, which, by the way, they're warned by an old couple. There's no
who happen to know where the nearest airfield is.
But even so, there's an insurmountable obstacle there, right?
Right.
And he's The Rock. So I'm thinking, because this is an action disaster film, he's going to figure out a way to surmount the obstacle. Like he's going to drive over it, or jump over it, or throw a rope over it, something.
It's almost like when in Top Gear they get to a river and they don't know how they're going to cross it, and they have to build a bridge out of whatever they find there.
They broke for lunch in the writers' room. Do you know what I mean? Okay, and then he's going to come to a big gap in the ground. What are you going to do?
Jeremy Clarkson,
top of the plane.
James May, and the little one, right? They're more they have more ingenuity, let's say, than The Rock.
Yes.
Which I don't believe. Because The Rock can literally pick up entire girders, throw it over the San Andreas Fault, and go, whoa!
There's a million things I could have done with that. And just having him fly over it was really boring.
That's what I mean. There was no pace or anything.
What's the point in throwing up these amazing obstacles in front of The Rock? If he just goes around them,
and also
the others go around the obstacles.
The other thing is that his daughter was the one who was always in peril, right, getting immense amounts of peril, and she was saved by an English Burke in a blue pastel shirt.
Yeah, kept nice but dead.
Right.
I mean, I did like that she did most of the saving, to be fair.
Well, that she got trapped in the car. I thought that was probably the best tense sequence, because the car. She had her legs trapped.
What he did too. That was smart. That was smart.
She had the legs trapped. The ceiling of the car was caving in because there was parking garage on top of it. So he ran in. He tried a rebar to prise up the thing. It almost worked, and then there was another shake and stuff fell down. So then he looked in the boot of the car and was like, "Oh yeah, there's a jack in the car. I'm going to use that to jack up the rock." And that didn't work. I just realised I said jack up the rock, and I don't mean injecting with lots of steroids. I mean jack up the concrete that was on top of the car. When that didn't work, he then punctured the tyres, so the car was like it was a really nice little sequence.
Yeah,
that felt like something that had actually been thought out. You know what I mean? And initially I quite liked the stepdad to be, or the boyfriend, the mother's boyfriend, running dazed up through his building, losing a shoe, and then scarpering down the escalator. So he scarpered very well, did it?
He was a good scarper.
I thought he was definitely a good scarper. But I think it went a lot too far when he pulled someone into the oncoming
there was one place to hide. There was somebody in it, so we grabbed him, threw him out, and hid there himself. And that was quite cool, because the guy, just as he was going, hang on a minute, I say, then was carried away by a wind of rubble and flame. That was cool. But then he didn't get his just desserts like at all. Like it was over him in a flash.
Because he is he's the Burke in Ghostbusters, or the Burke in played by the same guy, William
Jurassic
Atherton.
Park, the lawyer in Jurassic Park.
Right, or played by the same guy, William Atherton in Die Hard. He's the Burke exploiting people and whatever, right? And at the end of it, Holly Gennaro comes out and like McClane's wife punches him in the face. Like, you know what I mean? Or at the end of Ghostbusters, he gets hit by like a massive marshmallow or whatever it is. And you're right. It should have got to the point where they were all in the same building. He was hindering not Tim Nice but Tim. And
because Tim Nice but Dim did exactly what he did to her. Like he ran away.
No, because he said you stay. You know, to be fair, he had his younger brother who would also be a major concern, because this is just some big-titted dolly bird he just met in San Francisco, right? It was boob central. I mean, I hate to be male.
I like dolly bird.
Yeah, I hate to be. Well, you know, I mean.
No, I know what you mean. But then, I tell you what I did like.
But one thing, he had the younger brother to look after. Plus, when he put the younger brother on the scaffolding, he went, "I'm going back for her."
No, but he didn't. He went, "Oh, there's too much water."
No. He was about to go back, and then water started pouring out.
No, I understand that. I understand, but what I'm saying is,
stairwell.
I get that it made sense. But what's the point? Like, at least have him try to go back and then help the Rock out or something. Like, they didn't. It was supposed to be like a contrast between him and the boyfriend, and like in the end, he didn't. I understand that the Rock had to save her and not him. He could have come along at some point and helped out. Like while the Rock's beating things.
Well, he'd already done that thing. He'd already got her out of the car. He already had his gold star.
It didn't feel like enough to me. Him not helping out the Rock.
He just met her right in the foyer before he did a job.
I know you wouldn't, but I'm just saying.
No, he meets her, dude, right?
No, I'm just saying. Look, I'm just
Oliver
saying.
Twist comes along and goes, "Will you give us your telephone number? Because I'm a bit of a cheeky poke."
Yeah, Oliver Teeth comes along.
Crazy faced 10-year-old who everyone wants to set fire to the moment I show up. Right? She's like, "Oh, Doe, aren't you charming? All right, I'll give you my telephone number."
I just mean, at the end with The Rock, I felt like Tim Nice but Dim needed to come back and help him out a little bit, and they were both supposed to help out, you know. But he wasn't anywhere, and that's like I get why. I get there's a reason for it. It just didn't feel right to me.
No, and also
there was a lot about the movie thinking back.
Also, at the end, he also admitted that she had helped him, and not the
which
other.
I liked. I liked that she did more to help them than they did to help her. I thought that was a nice trait. It wasn't like, oh, she's just some helpless dolly bird who needs some strong man to help
I shouldn't have called her that. No.
I understand what you meant. I understand what you meant, like from his point of view.
She was a very well written character, because instead of being weak and fragile,
screaming as everything came down, she was the one having the ideas and putting the shots, and that was cool.
But it also makes logical sense, because she's the Rock's daughter, and if you lose one daughter, you give the other daughter all the means to survive.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I get it, but it also meant it wasn't very exciting, because you're making a point where she's going to survive.
And I shouldn't have called her that. That was
no. But what I'm saying is, but just in terms of the movie, it's fine. Don't worry. You were talking about from his point of view when he's thinking, "Shall I go back in there and save her?" The words "Dolly Bird" might cross his mind. That's okay. He's only trying to get himself out of dying. But there wasn't no one was ever in any peril. Like, because she's going, "Oh, we'll do this." And they went, "All right, we'll do that." They didn't even argue about anything. At one point, Tim Nice but Dim looked a bit unsure, but that was it. There was no conflict in the whole movie. Everyone was always putting together. Nobody argued about anything. No one was ever really in any peril, because you were either dead or related to the Rock.
Right.
You know, that was it. Those are the, you're dead, related to the Rock, then you'll be all right. But other than that, those are the two states of being in this movie.
And everyone loved each other very, very much. Except the looters.
They didn't even need to get over anything.
They were looters. There was that one scene of looting.
What the fuck was the point in that? What was the point of having a movie about where everyone pulls together and everyone survives and blah blah blah? Halfway through, people are going to be shooting each other and looting. What's the point?
Well, it's so that we don't feel bad when he steals the car.
Yeah, but he could have stolen.
No, I know he could have stolen the car, and I wouldn't have felt bad, because massive earthquakes, trying to save people, yada yada yada.
There's more entertaining ways of doing that, I don't know. It just.
I would have had it, right, if, like, they came down in the helicopter, right? And let's say he needed to go into the mall and, like, get something. So you had a whole sequence where he had to, like, fight people off or, like, sneak around or do something. Like, there would have been, like, some kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was only...
Or you could have had it, if you didn't want that, you could have had them crash into a mall and find, like they do in Dawn of the Dead, find one of those cars that are going to be,
fine.
like,
Like
auctioned off or win or whatever.
Yeah.
And he steals that. And it could have been like a big souped-up muscle car, and he could have been, and we could have had some... and then he could have, like, gone, well, I'm going to build a ramp, and then he could have jumped the San Andreas fault. Like, how cool would that have been?
Yeah. Instead, I'm The Rock. I drive a Dodge Ram, and I make sure I always park in front of the camera so you can read Dodge Ram down the side. That's fine. Guess what kind of car he steals from the bloke? Oh, it's another Dodge Ram.
No, it was a Ford.
No, it was a Dodge Ram.
It was a Ford.
It was a Dodge.
Do you know why I know?
How do you know?
Because it was being hot-wired. I was like, it's going to be very odd if they allow, like, their car to be seen if it's hot-wired. So I wondered what type of car it is, and before he pulled away out of the parking lot, it had Ford on the side.
Oh, fine, okay.
It was definitely a Ford, because I noted it in my head.
Okay, alright.
Because you're not going to have a Dodge Ram showing people that it can be hot-wired.
Or maybe that's why the TVs couldn't fit in the back properly as well. Because The Rock was like, I can fit a bike in the back of my Dodge Ram, I can fit whatever you want in the back of my Dodge Ram.
Right.
But these guys trying to fit tellies in that Ford, good luck, mate.
Right.
You'd be lucky if it doesn't get stolen because it's really easy stealability. Yeah, okay, alright, I see that now. But you're right, there was nothing, there was no problems for him to solve. He did desert his post.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely
stole, like, a rescue helicopter.
crashed it. Well, because they're not very good rescue helicopters. We've already established that what you really need out of a rescue helicopter is something that after a while just went, you know what, I'm giving up. I'm not actually going to work anymore.
Yeah, no, it must have taken a pounding in LA. You mean when nothing hit it?
Yeah.
When it was still flying, but half an hour later it decides to stop flying?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
It's going to be hit by debris. Oh God, I've forgotten how to pronounce that.
Debris. We say debris, but then Americans say debris.
Debris, okay. So I've just made up a third pronunciation.
Yeah.
Fine. Sometimes I get so unsure about what the English pronunciation of something is, because I just haven't heard anybody English saying it,
right,
that I do sometimes make up my own pronunciation.
No, I say debris now. I say garage too.
And ADM.
I just, like, who cares? I live here now. I don't give a fuck. If people really care about
I know I'm the weird one. I get it. It's cool. So, when it was over and while it was happening, I was really enjoying it. Because even though there was a lot of cheesy crap in it, I really, really enjoyed the special effects and like all the disaster stuff.
The special effects are top-notch.
It does lack that thing. You're right. That is in 2012 and Day After Tomorrow, where there's like a little bit of humour and the characters are a bit more like average, everyday Joes. And even if they're like scientists, then they're out of their wheelhouse. Do you know what I mean?
Right, but also you've got to remember that in Day After Tomorrow, it mostly, yes, of course, like, Quaid is having to, like, Quaid it up to the max to get to him. But, like, there's no big... They don't focus on Quaid's, like, peril, particularly. It's not important. And they don't... Quaid doesn't have a lot of, like, backstory. He's just trying to get to his son. Right? And he's the only guy for the job, right? But while that's happening, you have this whole avenue of stuff that, like, Gyllenhaal can be embroiled in, you know what I mean? You've got the library freezing, so they've got to, like, figure out books to burn, blah, 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 blah. He's got to get down to the phone booth, which is going to be underwater in order to make the call. He's got to go out onto the ship, and there's going to be wolves. Like stuff happens. Like, there's an ongoing thing. Whereas in this, she gets trapped in a car, saved from the car. Then there's like a long period where nothing really happens to any of them except he gets a shard of glass in his leg the size of a book, which encumbers him for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then they're in a building that's falling down. And yes, there is, like, the last 20 minutes of the movie, right, should have been the movie, because there was lots of, like, peril happening, and things kept going on top of each other, on top of each other, on top of each other. Like, just as they got high enough, the building started to sink, right? So, like, once they got out, first of all, they were on the 12th floor, he couldn't walk any higher, and the wave hit them, so they had to deal with that. Then they were like, let's get higher. So, okay, they tried to get higher. They got higher, but then the building started to sink. Like, then once the building started to sink, the guy went higher, but she got trapped downstairs. So then she had to do all that. Then The Rock had to, like, and it was building. There was this nice, like, okay, blah, 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 blah. But then, by the time that she actually, like, she doesn't try and survive, she gives up and kills herself in front of The Rock. Because she doesn't even hold her breath or attempt to. She literally starts taking big gulps of water and, like, convulses and dies in front of The Rock. It then takes a good 10 minutes of, like, dragging her body around, occasionally doing CPR, which, by the way, with The Rock's strength, he would have broken her ribcage within seconds and pierced her heart, and she'd be definitely right. But even without all that ludicrous, because he has, like, hands the size of her entire skull, right? But even beyond all that, she's been dead for minutes, and I forget exactly what it is, but your brain can't go without oxygen for, like, more than, I don't know, whatever it is, 4 or 5 minutes, whatever it is, without literally brain damage setting in. You know what I mean? Yeah. I forget what the exact minute thing is, but there's a point where basically your brain goes, oh, sorry mate, and bottoms out, and even if you are resuscitated, you're a vegetable. Because your brain needs constant
Fortunately, she's
blood
fine about 10 minutes later.
Yeah, 10 minutes later.
Which is fine, yes, it's a load of old bollocks.
The best thing is, she's underwater, they know they're underwater, and the wife is like, could you possibly kiss me before I dive back, before you go and save our daughter? Yeah, because that's a valuable use of his time.
Yeah, you're right.
And then, right, he attempts vaguely to unblock the passageway that's stopping her getting out with him, but doesn't really attempt anything. He barely even punches on the glass, which he could have broken with his head.
Yes, I was going to say, like, when she was there, I was like, just break the glass with your massive fists, The Rock. What are you doing? Right. Just punch the glass.
And then ultimately what happens is she kills herself in front of him, and then he's able to dislodge things. I'm like, do that the first time.
Yeah.
All, by the way, holding his breath for an improbable length of time.
Yeah, there was too much. And the thing is, like, the stuff that was unrealistic about it didn't bother me while I was watching it, because the effects were really good. But it doesn't have that Emmerich thing where I care about the characters. Right. And there's they drop in really good actors in that. You know what I mean? Like,
no, there was literally, we were left with The Rock and occasionally Giamatti, but Giamatti had a very dry role.
Yeah, he didn't really have much to do. I really wanted lots of Giamatti, like going, oh my god, this is going to happen. But like in the end, it was like, well, we see there's an earthquake going to happen, so we better. Like they didn't do anything useful. The machine was good. Like, well, yes, it'll be good in the future, but under the circumstances of the movie, it didn't do anything. If they'd been warning people, like, it should have been like Jaws or something. Like, if they'd been warning them for, like, you know, a month or like a week or something, when they're like, oh, it's Memorial Day in San Francisco, so, you know, or it's San Francisco Day or whatever, you know, like, we can't possibly, you know, I'm the evil mayor and I won't shut San Francisco down, you silly bespectacled scientist, man, you know what I mean? And then it'd be like, oh, I told you, and then the mayor gets flattened by something, you know, but there was no, like, you know, Giamatti goes on telly and goes, well, there's going to be more, there's going to be worse to come, better get out. Well, everybody's trying to leave San Francisco, and you've told us we've got 5 minutes before another one. Thanks, Giamatti. Why don't you go away?
Also, that was meant to be this whole thing. It was meant to be a whole problem that they couldn't broadcast out, and he was like, well, you've never been to Caltech before. Bam, 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 Caltech to the rescue. Right? The whole thing, they were like, we're going to hack into the satellite, but they didn't hack into anything, because then CNN went, and now over to Caltech where there's a guy. So I'm like, so even that was like
yeah, you're right, you're totally right. They just went, and our reporter is with the guy from Caltech. Let's cut that. Yeah, you're right.
What did they hack into? And also, there was no like tension about him hacking into it. Giamatti rocked up, some like stoner guy with a goatee went, sure, I can do that. And then later we cut to him and go, I've done it. Alright, he's done it. That's bloody handy.
Yeah.
Bloody handy. Yeah. He's managed to do that. Well, thanks for that.
Well, thank God for that.
I thought it was going to be an obstacle.
Yeah, you're right. The whole film was... Because I suppose the problem is, the obstacles they had to overcome were, like, watch out, that building might fall on you. Do you know what I mean?
The obstacles they had to overcome
was outwit a building.
Space, time and logic.
Yeah. But how are you supposed to outwit a building? I mean, but The Rock should be able to outwit buildings, and he doesn't.
The Rock should be able to eat buildings.
Yeah, he doesn't outwit a single building. You know? And also the thing, he goes, get inside the stadium, he says to these people, and they all crouch by a wall.
No, he says get to the side of the stadium.
Oh, I see. I thought inside, where it's like you're going to be in the middle of lots of grass and no high structures, that's the place to be.
No, he wanted them up against the wall.
Okay.
Because nothing falls off a building straight down the wall. It falls off and out.
Right.
So if you're right up against the wall...
I am all done, thank you very much.
If you're right up against the wall, chances are you'll be fine.
Right up against it.
I mean, except that it's an earthquake, and the only reason it starts falling off the top of it is because everything underneath it is moving. So, I mean, I would imagine that's a load of old...
Yeah, that could be a load of old bollocks.
Because, like...
Well, that's kind of disappointing, because that's one of those films where the more we talk about it, the more I realise that it could have been much, much better.
Yeah, no, now, don't get me wrong, like, it passed the time. There was at no point...
Yeah, I did really enjoy it.
We did guffaw through a lot of it.
I did really, really enjoy it, and it did make me go, whoa, with some of the special effects. I'm not normally that much of a sucker for special effects, but they were really good.
Right.
And I guess it is a spectacle. And 3D, 3D is a thing, and there are some films it's worth seeing in 3D. And this
there was a couple of bits. There was one in particular where a building split in half, like in a Japanese Yakuza movie when someone is sliced in half and they like slowly fall apart. The building actually did that, and the camera went through it.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Which was really well done. But okay, so things on the plus side, really good CGI.
Yeah.
Steady camera work. There wasn't any like shaky cam or whatever. I saw everything. There was no blurring. There was no
that's true. Yeah.
like digital bullshit. Like I saw everything and it was fine. The ending sequence was effective in terms of like heaping problem atop problem. I mean, because she was The Rock's daughter, because one had already died, I never thought she was in particular jeopardy. However,
that's true.
Fair play to them, because there was one moment where I was like, oh, maybe she is actually going to die there.
Yeah, I did think that.
So
too.
fair play to them for like adding that.
Yeah.
That was actually like a pretty good. Not that I would have felt anything, because who cares? But like. You know what I mean? Because I'd already seen people that I genuinely did care die. You know what I mean? Like the guy at the beginning. Like I really wanted Giamatti's friend to survive.
Yeah.
But the most hilarious thing that gave me many, many guffaws was after you saw him die, and it cut back to Giamatti's office, there was a photograph of them at some like geological site or whatever, fist bumping, which I just thought was the funniest, like cheesily grinning, like they just got married and they were away on their honeymoon. And they were like, check us out, we're fist bumping scientists. And I was like, Giamatti doesn't scream to me as a fist bumper. Maybe it's because I met him and he's one of the most grumpy people I've ever met, but in a nice way, in a like irascible, grumpy, I want Giamatti to be irascible and grumpy type way. No, he was just overwhelmed, because I met him at the John Dies at the End premiere, and he was just overwhelmed by the fact that like fans want to go up, like that kind of movie, B-movie fans and fanboys and people who like it, they want to go up and get signatures, they want to touch you, they want to shake your hand, they want to like take pictures with you and blah 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 blah. And I think Giamatti was just a bit overwhelmed by that, whereas Don Coscarelli like takes in his stride, because every movie he's made has been a cult fanboy movie, so every convention he's ever attended has been a case of shake my hand, to have my autograph, blah 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 blah. Whereas Giamatti doesn't really do that very often, and so he was just overwhelmed, and it was really funny. He was down. It was a cinema that had like stadium style seating and a stairwell either side of the stadium style seating, like an old school screening room, and all the fans piled down the left hand stairwell to go like have posters signed and meet them and blah 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 blah. And I saw Giamatti and, like, obviously his hand or his helper or his assistant or whoever it was, like, go, zoinks, and then, like, schlub his way up the right-hand thing, right? At which point, everyone who's at the back of the queue on the left-hand stairwell went, might as well have said, they didn't say it out loud, but might as well have said, quick, Giamatti's making a break for it, broke off into, like, a road group, and, like, shot round the top, and, like, cornered Giamatti at the top of the theatre, while he was trying to, like, aggressively and grumpily schlub his way through. And much to my, like, if I hadn't lived in America and if I hadn't suddenly gained a lot of, like, ballsy entitlement into my personality, I would never have been able to do this. But because I knew I was getting Coscarelli's signature on my poster, I just knew it. Because Coscarelli was going to hang around, he was absolutely fine, taking pictures, blah, 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 blah. So I made a bolt for Giamatti. There was like 3 people deep in a semicircle around him. I barged through those people because I could see he was leaving. And I literally thrusted my nose through the crowd of people, put the poster in one hand and the pen in the other, went, please, man, just please, just sign it. He was like, all right, and he signed it, and then he schlubbed off. And I was like, yes!
Nice!
Because then I have Giamatti's and Coscarelli's signature, and then I got a picture with Coscarelli and everything else.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, but he was, like, grumpy and overwhelmed, which is what I wanted. Like, I wanted grumpy, overwhelmed Giamatti. I don't want him, like, cool and hip. Like, nobody wants Giamatti to be...
No, you want him to be grumpy and irascible, yeah.
I want Tim Roth to be very cool, and he was very cool.
He was very cool.
He was Roth to the power of Roth.
He was Roth.
Roth. He was definitely Roth. Anyway, no, so San Andreas...
Good special effects, load of old bollocks.
Yeah, basically.
Rather wish Emmerich had done it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe they'll give Emmerich money now, given San Andreas made a pile of money, and they must have thought Emmerich was past it, like nobody wants to see those movies anymore. Maybe they'll give him some money to make more of them.
I don't know. I mean,
maybe like the Milky Way could be in danger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Emmerich's got to like save the Milky Way.
Well, they've already done that with Armageddon, I suppose.
No, they have to save Earth. I'm talking about the whole Milky Way.
Oh, the whole of Milky Way is in peril, and they have to send.
Who would it be? It's got to be somebody mad. Roth? Could be Roth.
I'd love Roth on a space mission.
Roth in space.
Roth in space. I could definitely go for Roth in space.
Oliver Platt?
No, John Goodman. Let's go Goodman.
Goodman's a bit one note. Also, do you remember like when Michael Bay and Bruckheimer used to produce movies that had like interesting eclectic cuts? Yeah, what happened to that? Well, we did Pirates of the Caribbean 15, and that's just... Oh, that's what Bruckheimer does now, right? Yeah. Do you remember like Con Air and The Rock? Yeah, that was their thing. They have big action movies and they drop in really good character actors in there, either in the lead or whatever. Like Cole Meany and John Cusack having their own little like problem in Con Air. Like, that's brilliant. And Malkovich is the bad guy. Right. So, okay, who would we cast in our Emmerich has to save the Milky Way? Well, Roth, definitely. Well, Roth has to be like, I don't know. Yeah, no, Roth could be in there. It's like aging. Roth is like an aging Hawaiian shirt wearing. Yes. Like astronaut? No, he's like a technician. Yes, he's like a mechanic. Like a laid back stoner technician, Cockney. Yes. All right, I like that. A bit like Lister from Red Dwarf type. Yes, all right. Yeah, okay. That kind of thing. Yeah, all right. Partnered by Denzel Washington. Yeah, who are we going to have? It's like a by the numbers astronaut. No. I don't want Denzel as by the numbers. I want Denzel throwing the numbers out of the window. Yeah, he could do that too. He could throw the numbers out of the window. No, but he could be in full possession of the numbers before the mission, and then throws the numbers away. The thing is, I want Neeson to throat punch the Milky Way back into existence. Neeson and Roth. Oh, I could so go for Neeson and Roth. Like the noses versus disaster. I say Neeson as an over-the-hill astronaut pulled out for one last gig. Yeah, okay. He's a drunk. Oh, it has to be. And his partner
his partner, because they're like old astronauts out of board, and they only go everywhere together, is Fred Williamson.
Yeah, okay.
Fred Williamson.
Okay.
So you have Neeson and Williamson with like Roth as the like laid back, cocky engineer. We've got to put a woman on the spaceship.
Mirren.
Maybe Mirren.
Mirren, who's like
Does she
Neeson's ex-wife or fiance? Doesn't really matter. The ex-wife. She's got to be the ex-wife, and they're going to fall in love all over again.
Mirren?
Definitely Mirren. I reckon, Mirren's always good. She's really good value in Red.
No, I love Mirren, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know, like, are there any actresses that I'd like to? I don't know. Mirren works. I'm not against Mirren.
Mirren, Neeson, and Roth in space.
Yeah, but we're only casting British people now.
Well, we are British. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I know.
Neeson, Roth, and Mirren in space, and a Roland Emmerich film, but they have to save
and
the Milky Way.
And Fred Williamson. Fred Williamson essentially playing the Yaphet Kotto role from Alien.
Who's the guy, in Mission Control with the microphone?
Because I really liked him, and he's the only good thing about Cabin in the Woods, Bradley Whitford, because he's amazing.
Okay, I'll take Whitford.
Because I love Bradley Whitford.
Yeah.
And he was so good in Cabin in the Woods. He's the only good thing in it.
Yeah, that opening of Cabin in the Woods.
Sam Elliott as the general, the shouty general, just because Sam Elliott...
he doesn't shout. Clint Eastwood as a growly general who nobody understands his instructions. He was going, I don't know what he wants, but he's fucking angry.
Who's the shouty general who wants to just nuke the Milky Way rather than solve?
He's really good at being angry. Well, he's really good at being angry.
Really good at being angry.
Cage?
I don't know that Cage can play authority though. Cage can
he can play insane.
Cage could laugh insanely in the face of authority and then do a little.
He can only really do insane. Who shouts really well?
And Werner Herzog is the scientist on the ground. He's the scientist on the ground.
Yeah, he's got in a cupboard. They keep opening the cupboard going, Werner, what are we going to do? I don't know.
He's the scientist. He's like left over from the brain drain kind of thing.
Dustin Hoffman is the shouty general.
No, Dustin Hoffman doesn't shout.
He shouts really well.
He mumbles.
He shouts really well.
He mumbles. Balls to Hoffman.
He does that thing where he jumps up and down. He's tiny.
I don't want comical general. I want
comical general.
No, I don't. I want a beastie guy.
Fred Williamson.
Big shout.
Fred Williamson.
No. Fred Williamson is...
He's on the spaceship.
He's on the spaceship. Because at some point Fred Williamson has to pick up some enormous space chainsaw and take out a meteorite or something.
I think that's just a chainsaw. I don't think it needs to be a space chainsaw.
It has to be a specific...
I think chainsaws function in space.
There has to be a specific space.
It's not like gravity, whoa, watch out, zero gravity chainsaw.
Who's going to be... I tell you who it should have been. Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman
he does
as the old shouty general, but he's retired now.
Well, we could get him back with a big enough payday.
Nah, I don't think so. Plus everyone thinks he's an arsehole to work with.
Oh no.
I don't know who the shouty guy would be. I don't know.
Or Jack Nicholson.
Nicholson. Definitely Nicholson. For shouting?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so we've cast a better film. Well, thanks very much, man.
Yeah,
that was lovely.
A pleasure. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed the movie, and I really enjoyed talking about it.
Yeah.
Probably, looking back on it now, I enjoyed talking about it more than I did actually. The experience.
It was fine. I mean, it was absolutely fine.
I enjoyed the experience of watching it, but not so much remembering it. I guess that's the best way of thinking about it.
Right. But, it's one of those things where it's like... It was literally the filmmaking equivalent of going, that'll do.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
We've got these effects.
Yeah, everything in between, that'll do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Like, have The Rock, because they really thought the big thing was him parachuting into the stadium. And that was pretty cool, but...
Yeah, but you remember that bit in Godzilla?
Which one? The new one?
The new one.
I didn't see it.
Oh, okay. First of all, you should. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But it's really, really good.
Okay.
Really good. It's just a different kind of film. Anyway, it's really good. But there's a bit in Godzilla where they parachute out of the back of they like free jump or whatever out of the back of a plane into like a city that's like in the process of being destroyed by 3 large monsters, and there's like smoke and flame and everything, and they like go down into it with that Kubrick the voices from 2001 thing, and you see this like wide shot from far away of these, because they've all got flares on their ankles and they're falling into this like black smoke flame city, these guys with the flames on their ankles and this amazing music, and you're going, Jesus Christ, this is so cool, like it looks amazing. Right. And after that, The Rock like jumping out of the plane and having a quite easy parachute ride into a nice green grass of a stadium, they're making a cheesy baseball joke, and really cut them parachute mustard as well.
No, the mustard was definitely remained uncut throughout most of the movie. Yeah, he didn't like eat enough buildings.
And with that, that's our review.
Yeah,
right?
San Andreas, The Rock didn't eat enough buildings. Like I'm saying, he didn't drive an ambulance to a drone, tear off the machine gun, and go hauling ass through the.
Once.
Not once.
Okay.
And that's why the Fast and Furious movies work, and that's why movies like this don't. It's because in the Fast and Furious, they're like, let's have Vin Diesel and Jason Statham fighting like a couple of giant gods.
Vin Diesel as a dragon slayer with a flaming sword looks
the witch hunter,
good.
The witch hunter with Michael Caine going, well, all right, Vin, I think you should grab your flaming sword.
Apparently,
go off
I get parachuted into these things now as the old man who explains what's going on.
Yeah, right.
That's what I do now.
So is that?
Are you a bit confused? I'm an old man who's going to tell you what's going on.
Hello, Righto, it's Michael Caine. And I'm here to tell you
an improbable turn of events.
What's going on? Vin Diesel, I know you don't quite believe this.
Here's a flaming sword.
He's a witch hunter.
Here's an instruction manual. There's a dragon.
He's a witch hunter. He's going to go hunt witches.
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle.
Not a lot of people know this. But you are a witch hunter.
You've paid your money. You're going to get a decent bit of entertainment out of this movie.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that. I'm an old man. Oh, I need my lie down and some Lipton.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. That was
really
fun.
Pleasure. Pleasure as always. All right, take it easy. And so ends another After Movie Diner episode, and we're going to end this week as we end every week with a song of my own composing. And like I mentioned in the middle of the show, we are looking to take the Diner on tour next year, and all proceeds, not only from supporting the After Movie Diner on patreon.com/After Movie Diner, but also from sales of my albums over at miskplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. That's MISC, like the shortening of miscellaneous, plumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. Any song and or album that you purchase from that, all the proceeds from that will also go into the pot and will go towards taking the Diner on tour next year, as well as maintaining the Diner every week for the rest of this year. So sit back and relax to yet another track from our hit Donald Pleasance themed album, The Pleasancing! ! And it's the tale of the time that Donald Pleasance saved Adrienne Barbeau from some thugs in St. Louis. Downtown St. Louis, there's people trying to escape from New York. Donald Pleasance, Lee Van Cleef, and Ernest Borgnine huddle round a burning car, cold and dark. While over in the library, Harry Dean Stanton makes speeches, makes soup and makes mess. While Adrienne Barbeau, she is stealing the show, while barely being contained by her dress. Oh yes, she's barely being contained by her dress. Then late one evening, in a bad part of town, Barbeau finds herself a bit lost. She went out to buy herself spark plugs, but forgot all her cash and couldn't cover the cost. Went down a dark alley around 12 o'clock. A menacing gang did appear, with flick knives and chains, batons and pipes, feeling Babo full of fear. Oh no, Babo, she is feeling with fear. Oh no, what will Babo do? She's stranded, no weapon and no clue. Well, maybe she could fend them off with her shoe. Won't somebody help Babo? No, won't somebody help Babo? Then out of the darkness, a figure haloed in light stood ready to take the gang on. Was it mighty Kurt Russell? Babo thought. Was it Isaac? Was it Harry? Was it John? In fact, it was Donald Pleasance, armed to the teeth, a towel round his neck like a cape. You picked the wrong dame to be picking on, he said in his distinctive tones. I'll teach you all a lesson and no mistake. Oh yes, I'll teach you all a lesson and no mistake. Oh yes, Pleasance will save the day. He's fearless, miraculous, and better in every way. He twirled his sword to keep the hoodlums at bay. Pleasance is here to help Babo. Oh, Pleasance is here to help Babo. He takes one out with a dagger, another with his gun. He does kung fu, karate on the whole bunch. He taught Steven Seagal.